My suitcase was zipped and standing beside the front door when my daughter texted me, "Dad, don't come to the airport. Nathan wants this vacation to be immediate family only. Please don't make this difficult." That evening, I found a photograph of Nathan's mother and father drinking champagne with them in Maui. The caption read, "Finally with the family that makes life easy." I had paid for my daughter and son-in-law's flights. I had paid for their resort room. I was also paying nearly every expense on the house they proudly told people they owned. Before their first full day in Hawaii ended, my daughter's credit card stopped working. Before she returned to Colorado, a white sign appeared in her front yard, "For sale," and when Nathan's father finally learned what his son had been hiding, one question left the entire driveway silent. My name is Richard Lawson, although most people call me Rick. I was 66 when this happened recently. Retired after spending 38 years running a small heating and cooling company in Colorado Springs. I was not rich. I had worked hard, saved carefully, paid off my own home, and sold my company to 2 employees who had been with me for more than 20 years. I had enough money to retire comfortably. At least I should have. A large portion of my income had quietly begun supporting 2 healthy adults who still described themselves as independent. One of them was my only daughter, Emily. The other was her husband, Nathan. For most of Emily's life, I believed a father's job was to solve a problem before his child had time to be frightened by it. When her first car broke down, I fixed it. When tuition came due, I found the money. When her wedding went over budget, I paid the remaining balance without telling anyone. When she and Nathan could not qualify for a mortgage, I bought a modest house and allowed them to live there while they repaired their credit. I called that helping. My late wife Susan sometimes called it rescuing. If you keep switching off every consequence, she once told me, Emily will eventually believe consequences are things that happen only to other people. At the time, I thought Susan was being too strict. After she died, I became even more generous, partly because Emily was my daughter, partly because the house felt painfully empty, and partly because every time she needed me, I could pretend I had not lost my whole family when I lost Susan. The Maui trip had originally been Susan's dream. For most of our marriage, a faded postcard of Haleakala National Park had been pinned beside our kitchen telephone. Whenever business was good, Susan would tap the postcard and say, "One day, Rick." When Emily is grown and you finally stop taking service calls during dinner. Emily grew up. I sold the business. But Susan never saw Hawaii. She was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and died 9 months later, 3 weeks before our 37th wedding anniversary. For 2 years after her death, I kept the Haleakala postcard in the top drawer of my desk. I could not look at it without remembering all the times we said there would be more time. Then one Thanksgiving evening, Emily found it. She and I were clearing dishes while Nathan watched football in the living room. Emily held up the postcard. "You should still go," she said. "It wouldn't be the same. Mom would be furious if you stopped living because she died." I looked toward the living room. Nathan was shouting at the television. Emily lowered her voice. "Come with us. We'll make it a family trip." She placed the postcard in my hand. "We'll do it for Mom." Those words reached a place in me that had been closed since Susan's funeral. A family trip. For Susan. I spent the next 5 months planning everything. I compared flights, read hotel reviews, researched beaches, and booked a sunrise tour at Haleakala. I selected a quiet resort because Emily disliked crowded pools. I found a restaurant overlooking the ocean because Susan had once torn a photograph of it from a travel magazine. Nathan's parents, Gary and Linda, decided to join us after Emily invited them. I did not mind. They lived in Arizona and rarely saw their son. I thought the vacation might bring both sides of the family closer. Gary sent me a check for his and Linda's share within a week. Nathan did not. Nathan worked in construction sales, although the word "worked" was not always accurate. He had confidence charm and a new employer almost every year. According to Nathan, every manager he met was insecure, dishonest, or threatened by his talent. According to his employment record, his talent became threatening about once every 8 months. Emily worked steadily as the office coordinator at an orthodontic practice. She earned decent money, but much of it disappeared into car payments, restaurants, online shopping, and emergencies that always seemed to become my responsibility. "Put our flights and hotel on your card," she told me. "Nathan has a large commission coming next month." The commission never appeared. I chose not to ask. Silence had become one of the ways I protected our relationship. I believed avoiding uncomfortable conversations kept the family peaceful. In reality, silence allowed Emily and Nathan to build a comfortable life around things no one was permitted to mention. On the morning of the flight, I had been awake since 4:30. Our plane left Denver shortly after 3 that afternoon. The airport shuttle was scheduled to collect me at 11. My suitcase lay open across the bed. I packed 3 shirts, khaki pants, walking shoes, a light rain jacket, and the blue button-down Susan always said made me look 10 years younger. Her old digital camera sat beside my passport. It was outdated, but it still contained photographs from our family vacations. Susan laughing beneath a red umbrella in Boston. Emily standing beside Lake Michigan after graduating from college. The 3 of us squeezed together at the Grand Canyon. I wanted to add Maui to the end of those memories. At 9:48, my phone vibrated. Emily's name appeared. I smiled, assuming she wanted me to bring an extra charger or confirm where we would meet at the airport. Instead, I read, "Dad, don't come to the airport. Nathan and I talked last night. He wants this vacation to be immediate family only. I know this is late, but please respect our decision and don't turn it into a big emotional thing." I read the message twice, then a third time, "Immediate family only." I had changed Emily's diapers, sat beside her in emergency rooms, paid her tuition, walked her down the aisle, held her hand at Susan's funeral. How could I be outside her definition of immediate family? I typed, "Are Gary and Linda still going?" The typing symbol appeared, disappeared, then returned. "Yes, they're Nathan's parents. That's different." I stared at the screen. I wrote, "Did I do something?" Her answer arrived almost immediately. Nothing happened. Nathan just wants a peaceful vacation. Please don't make us feel guilty. My first instinct was to call her. My second was to apologize, although I did not understand what I had done. That was our pattern. Emily pulled away. I panicked. Then I offered money help or an apology until she came closer again. I sat on the edge of my bed holding the blue shirt Susan liked. My hands had begun to tremble. I typed, "I planned this trip." Emily replied, "We know and we appreciate it. But paying for something doesn't automatically mean you have to be included." I read that sentence slowly. Then I placed the shirt inside the suitcase and closed the lid. I sent one final response. "Understood." Emily reacted with a blue thumbs up. That small symbol hurt more than an argument would have. It told me she was relieved. I canceled my flight first, then the shuttle, then my hotel room. Because the cancellations came so late, I lost much of what I had paid. The customer service representative spoke kindly. "I'm sorry your plans changed, Mr. Lawson." "They didn't change," I said. "I was removed from them." There was a brief silence. "I'm sorry," she repeated. This time she sounded as though she understood the difference. At 11, the airport shuttle arrived anyway. I had canceled too late for the driver to receive the update. He walked up the porch steps and glanced through the open doorway at my suitcase. "Denver International." "Not anymore." He looked at the luggage tag. "Everything okay?" For years, I had answered questions like that with the same word. "Fine." Fine was how I explained why Emily forgot my birthday, but remembered the property tax bill. Fine was how I described Sunday dinners where Nathan drank my beer, talked over me, and left without clearing his plate. Fine protected everyone except me. "No," I said, "but it will be." The driver nodded and returned to his van. I stood on the porch until he disappeared at the end of the street. Then I carried my suitcase upstairs. I unpacked slowly. The shoes returned to the closet. The rain jacket went back on its hook. I held the blue shirt for several seconds before hanging it beside one of Susan's old coats. I had never managed to give that coat away. Her camera remained on the bed. I made coffee and forgot to drink it. I turned on a baseball game, but could not remember which teams were playing. At 7:30, I opened Facebook. The first photograph appeared before I had scrolled half a page. Linda had posted it from the Maui airport. She and Gary stood beside Nathan and Emily beneath a welcome sign decorated with tropical flowers. All four wore matching leis. Emily's arm was around Linda. Nathan stood beside his father with the broad, confident smile he rarely wore around me. The caption read, "The family adventure begins." Perhaps Linda did not know what had happened. Perhaps Emily had told her I was sick. I clicked on my daughter's page. The first photograph showed 4 champagne glasses touching above a table on the resort terrace. The ocean glowed behind them. Beside the glasses sat the travel folder I had prepared. My printed itinerary was visible beneath Nathan's hand. Emily's caption read, "Finally with the family that makes life easy. No guilt, no tension, just love." I stared at those words. No guilt, no tension, just love. They were not accidental. Emily knew I would see them. Maybe she wanted me to. Perhaps the post was a proof to Nathan that she had chosen him over me. I looked through the other photographs. Gary and Nathan beside the rental car. Linda and Emily on the hotel balcony. All 4 sitting in the restaurant Susan had dreamed about visiting. They were enjoying a trip built around my dead wife's memory. They had simply removed the man who remembered why it mattered. I placed the phone on the coffee table and walked to the kitchen window. Across the street, warm light filled my neighbor's dining room. I could see people passing plates around a table. My reflection appeared in the dark glass. A 66-year-old man standing alone in a house full of photographs. Behind me, Emily's post glowed from the phone. I finally understood the position I held in her life. Close enough to pay, close enough to repair things, close enough to answer at midnight, but too embarrassing to place in the family photograph. I went upstairs and sat on the bedroom floor beside the unpacked suitcase. That was where I broke. Susan's camera slipped from the blanket and switched on. An old video began playing. Susan stood in our kitchen wearing a paper birthday crown. Emily, much younger then, was filming her. Susan looked toward the camera and laughed. "One day when your father finally stops working, I'm dragging him somewhere with palm trees." Emily's younger voice replied, "I'll come too." "You'd better," Susan said. "Somebody has to make sure he wears sunscreen." The video ended. The room became silent. I sat on the floor holding the camera against my chest and cried harder than I had since Susan's funeral. I was not crying because I had lost a vacation. I was crying because my daughter had used her mother's dream to bring me close, then erased me when my presence became inconvenient. The next morning I called Emily. Maui was 4 hours behind Colorado. It was early there, but I knew she woke early on vacation. She answered after 5 rings. "Hey, Dad." Her tone was cautious rather than apologetic. I heard dishes and voices behind her. "Are Gary and Linda with you?" She exhaled. "Dad, please don't start. I'm asking a question." "Yes, they're here. You said the trip was for immediate family." "It is." I waited. She did not correct herself. "What am I, Emily? That isn't what I meant." "Then tell me what you meant." Nathan spoke in the background. "Don't let him drag this out." Emily lowered her voice. "Nathan feels every family gathering becomes about you. How? You pay for things, and then everyone feels like they have to spend the whole time thanking you. I have never asked for that. You don't have to. The fact that you helped is always there." Her answer stunned me. "My help embarrasses you." "You're twisting my words." "Then explain them." She remained quiet. I could hear restaurant music behind her. Finally she said, "Gary and Linda think Nathan and I bought the house." I leaned back in my chair. "What did you tell them?" It wasn't one conversation. "Emily, Nathan told them we saved for the down payment." The house on Cedar Ridge Avenue was a 3-bedroom ranch 20 minutes from me. I had purchased it 3 years earlier after Emily and Nathan were denied a mortgage because of his unstable income and their credit card debt. The property remained in my name. That had never been a secret between us. They were supposed to cover the routine expenses and make modest monthly payments while repairing their credit. After several years, we would discuss transferring ownership. They paid for 4 months. Then Nathan's truck needed a transmission. Then Emily's hours were reduced. Then the furnace failed. One missed payment became 6. 6 became a year. Eventually, they stopped mentioning the agreement. I paid the taxes, insurance, roof repairs, furnace replacement. Nathan still introduced himself as a homeowner. Emily posted photographs labeled "Our First Home." I never corrected them because I wanted to protect their pride. Now I understood that my silence had allowed them to turn my help into their accomplishment. Why would my presence affect what Gary believes I asked? Because you mention things. What things? You ask about the furnace or the roof. You ask Nathan about work. I ask because I pay for those things. There. That's exactly what I mean. That isn't control, it's reality. You make us feel small. I bought the house because you said you needed help. We needed help, not constant reminders. I've never announced what I paid. You don't understand. When you're there, Nathan feels like everyone can see through him. The honesty of that sentence stopped me. You removed me because your husband was afraid I might expose his lie. It wasn't only Nathan. What does that mean? I wanted Gary and Linda to see us as successful too. There it was. Not only Nathan. Emily had chosen the lie because she liked what it made her look like. You were ashamed of me, I said. No. I was ashamed of needing you. So you made me the embarrassing one. She said nothing. Nathan spoke again in the background. Tell him this is why we didn't bring him. Emily covered the phone, but not well enough. I heard him say, he makes everything emotional. She returned. Nathan thinks you've been emotionally exhausting since Mom died. The sentence struck hard. Do you agree? Another silence. I think we've felt responsible for keeping you happy. I was lonely. And that made us feel guilty. You believe my loneliness was something I did to you. You don't understand the pressure. I looked at Susan's camera on the table. For a moment, I could not speak. Then I said, you should feel much less pressure now. What does that mean? It means I understand my place. Dad, enjoy breakfast. I ended the call. I remained at the table until the coffee became cold. Then I went into my office and looked at the photographs on the wall. Emily learning to ride a bicycle. Emily in her graduation gown. Emily holding her college diploma. Emily and Nathan cutting their wedding cake. Emily standing outside Cedar Ridge with a red bow tied around the mailbox. In every photograph, I was smiling. Those pictures had always told me the story of a father who provided. That morning, I saw another story. A father who continued paying because he was afraid there would be no relationship without the money. My phone vibrated. A banking alert appeared. Purchase approved, $684.20, Wailea Ocean Spa. I opened the account. 2 years earlier, I had added Emily as an authorized user to help rebuild her credit. She was supposed to use the card for groceries and emergencies. The recent activity showed Airport Boutique, $178. Resort Restaurant, $392. Gift Shop, $216. Cocktail Lounge, $147. Spa, $684. Then another notification arrived. Purchase approved, $96.40, Island Adventure Photography. They were buying professional photographs of the family trip I had been excluded from. That was the moment something inside me settled. Not hardened, settled. I called the credit card company. I need to remove an authorized user. The representative verified my identity. Which user? Emily Price. I can deactivate her card immediately. Please do. Would you like to dispute any recent purchases? I considered it. No, I gave her access. I'm ending that access now. The process took less than 5 minutes. Nothing outside me changed. The sunlight still crossed the desk. The clock still ticked, but for the first time in years, I had responded to disrespect without paying to make it disappear. Emily called 38 minutes later. What did you do? No greeting. No question about whether I was all right. I removed your access to my card. You need to put it back. Number. My card was declined at the spa. That sounds uncomfortable. Linda was standing beside me. The woman tried it twice. I know what public embarrassment feels like. This is completely different. You're right. I didn't spend your money while humiliating you. Nathan moved closer to the phone. Put her on speaker. A moment later, he addressed me. Rick, restore the card. Number. We're thousands of miles from home. You have your own debit cards. We planned around having that card. I almost laughed. You planned my money into a vacation I wasn't allowed to attend. We intended to repay you. You say that often, Emily returned. You're punishing us for setting a boundary. A boundary determines access to your own life or property. You used my property while telling me I was not family. You're being manipulative. No, I'm being unavailable. Nathan muttered something. Then Emily's voice changed. The anger became colder. Dad, Nathan and I have been worried about you. Worried about what? You've been making emotional decisions. I canceled a card. In the middle of our trip, after you spent more than $1,700. You've been alone too much since Mom died. You hold on to things. You overreact when people create space. I set my mug down. What exactly are you suggesting? There are communities for older adults where you wouldn't be so isolated. I'm 66. It's about planning, not age. Planning what? You don't need that large house. You could sell it and move somewhere easier. And who would handle the money? Silence. Then Nathan said loudly enough for me to hear, we could consolidate everything. Emily softened his words. Nathan and I could help manage the accounts, my home, my savings, my retirement. They had already begun imagining my life as a collection of resources they could control. You became concerned about my mental health less than an hour after your card stopped working, I said. That's unfair. It's exact. We're trying to help. No, you're trying to restore access. Put the card back, Dad. Number. Her voice sharpened. You're going to regret this. Perhaps. What does that mean? It means enjoy the family you chose. I ended the call. My hands remained steady. That surprised me. A week earlier, the thought of Emily cutting me out of her life would have terrified me. I would have called back, apologized, restored the card, promised never to mention the house. But I finally understood. They were not afraid I was losing my mind. They were afraid I had begun using it without their permission. I called my oldest friend, Sam Whitaker. Sam and I had met when we were apprentices in our 20s. He later became an electrician, and our companies worked on hundreds of projects together. He had known Susan almost as long as I had. Aren't you supposed to be somewhere tropical? He asked. I told him what happened. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he asked, when was the last time Emily invited you somewhere you weren't paying for? I opened my mouth. No answer came. When was the last time Nathan called to ask how you were doing? He called in March. Why? The water heater was making noise. That was not my question. I looked through the doorway at my empty kitchen. I don't remember. Sam's voice softened. Rick, helping your kid through a hard season is one thing. Financing her entire adulthood so she never has to face herself is something else. She's my daughter, and you're her father, not her utility company. The sentence hurt. It also cleared the room. What do I do? What do you want to do? I want to stop paying for Cedar Ridge. Then stop. It isn't easy. No. But simple and easy are not the same thing. After the call, I took the Cedar Ridge folder from my desk. The house was mine. Not because I had tricked Emily. Not because of some hidden technicality. It was mine because I had purchased it, paid for it, insured it, and maintained it, while two capable adults took public credit for my work. I called a real estate agent named Marissa Bell. She had sold several homes for my former customers and helped Sam's sister move after her husband died. We met that afternoon at a diner. I explained the arrangement. Marissa listened completely before speaking. Are you trying to frighten them? She asked. Or are you truly prepared to sell? Sell, even when your daughter cries. The question stung because it was fair. I have reversed every boundary I ever set with her. And this one, I won't reverse it. Marissa explained that the market was strong. The house had increased in value, especially after the roof and furnace improvements I had paid for. We handle this respectfully, she said. They receive notice. Their belongings stay untouched. No boxes on the lawn. No surprise lockout. That's what I want. You're certain. I want my life back. I don't want to destroy theirs. That evening I emailed Emily and Nathan. The Cedar Ridge property will be listed for sale. You will have 30 days after returning to arrange new housing. Your belongings will not be removed or disturbed. Beginning immediately, I will no longer pay your household expenses, vehicle costs, phone bills, or personal credit card charges. Marissa Bell will contact you regarding the inspection and showing schedule. This decision is final. I read it 6 times. My finger hovered over the send button. What if Emily never forgave me? Then another question followed. What exactly was I trying to preserve? A daughter who removed me from a trip honoring her mother. A son-in-law who called me unstable when I stopped funding him. A relationship that required me to surrender every boundary. I pressed send. The phone began ringing within 2 minutes. Emily, Nathan, Emily again. I did not answer. Messages appeared one after another. You can't do this. That is our home. You promised us the house. This proves you aren't thinking clearly. Mom would be ashamed of you. That last message struck hardest. I walked into the garage and stood beside Susan's old gardening cabinet. A packet of sunflower seeds sat on one shelf, years beyond its planting date. I remembered something she had said after Emily used our card without permission in college. I wanted to pay the balance and forget the whole thing. Susan disagreed. She knows you'll rescue her before the lesson reaches her. She made a mistake, I said. She keeps making the same mistake because you keep switching off the consequence. At the time, I believed Susan was being too strict. Now I whispered, you saw it before I did. Another message arrived from Nathan. Do not let anyone into my house. If you try to sell it, we will prove you are not competent to make financial decisions. I replied, your belongings will remain untouched. The property is mine. You have received notice of the inspection and showing schedule. Future questions may go through Marissa. Then I turned off my phone. The next morning, Sam arrived carrying 2 fishing rods. What are those for? I asked. You canceled our last 3 trips because Emily needed something. I didn't pack. You own a toothbrush. We drove to a small lake outside Woodland Park. The air smelled of pine. Snow still covered the distant peaks. We did not catch much. That was not the point. For 6 hours, no one asked me to pay a bill. No one called my grief exhausting. No one treated my presence like an invoice. When I returned home, I had a missed call from Linda. I called her. Rick, she began, I hope I'm not getting involved in something private. You're calling from the vacation I was removed from. I think we passed private several days ago. She exhaled. That's fair. Her voice sounded embarrassed. I didn't know Emily told you not to come. What did they tell you? That Hawaii felt too emotional because of Susan, and you decided to stay home. I closed my eyes. They used Susan as the excuse. Yes, I was packed. Linda became silent. I'm sorry. Thank you. Nathan also told us you had become confused about money. Before or after the card was declined? After, of course. Linda continued carefully. He said you helped with the down payment, but later became confused and started calling the house yours. It is mine. A long pause followed. You own Cedar Ridge. Yes. Do they make payments to you? They made 4. This year, 4 total. Linda whispered something away from the phone. Then Gary's voice came on. Rick, this is Gary. Hello, Gary. My son told me he saved nearly $60,000 for that down payment. Nathan was unemployed when I purchased the house. Gary did not answer. He also told me he paid for the new roof through a renovation loan. I paid for the roof after the hailstorm. Another silence. Why didn't you correct us? Gary asked. I thought protecting their pride mattered more than receiving credit. I bragged about him. I know. He let me. Yes. The anger in Gary's breathing was not directed at me. We're considering leaving early, Linda said. Don't. After what they did. You paid for your trip. Finish it. What about Nathan and Emily? They wanted independence. Let them experience it. After that call, I understood Nathan more clearly. He had not simply wanted a free house. He wanted the identity the house gave him. Homeowner, provider, successful son. My presence threatened that identity because I knew where the money came from. So he removed me from the photograph while keeping my wallet in the background. 2 days later, Marissa and I conducted the scheduled inspection. Emily and Nathan had received the notice 5 days earlier and dismissed it as an empty threat. Sam came with me because he knew I might lose my nerve. I had not entered Cedar Ridge in nearly 5 months. Emily always gave me a reason not to visit. The dog was nervous. Nathan was sleeping. The kitchen was messy. They were busy. The moment I walked inside, three things told me everything I needed to know. First, the hallway held several framed photographs of Emily and Nathan with Gary and Linda. There was not one photograph of me. Second, Nathan's office contained two expensive computer monitors, framed sports jerseys, and a new leather chair. They had told me they could not afford property taxes while filling the house with things they wanted. Third, the property I had spent years maintaining was being neglected. The carpet was stained. The deck was littered with cans. A cabinet door hung loose in the kitchen. They did not respect the house any more than they respected the man paying for it. In the spare bedroom, I found several wedding albums. I opened one. Gary and Linda appeared on nearly every page. I appeared 3 times, walking Emily down the aisle, standing at the edge of a group photograph. And in the background, while Nathan raised a champagne glass. I had paid most of the wedding balance. Yet even then, I was already being edited out of the life I financed. Sam appeared in the doorway. "You okay?" I thought this started with Hawaii. It probably didn't. Hawaii was simply the first time they told me openly that my role was to provide without being seen. Marissa finished the inspection without disturbing personal items. Before leaving, I placed another copy of the showing schedule on the kitchen counter. No secrets, no trap, no surprise. Emily responded publicly that evening. She posted, "Some parents give gifts so they can control their adult children later. Setting boundaries reveals who truly respects you." Friends responded with hearts. A cousin wrote, "Toxic is toxic even when it's family." I did not post receipts. I did not announce who owned the house. I let Emily tell the story she needed until reality arrived to correct it. Their private messages shifted over the next few days. First came anger, cancel the sale, then bargaining. We can start paying $500 a month, then guilt. A real father would never do this. Finally, another threat. Nathan has spoken to someone about protecting you from impulsive decisions. I saved that message. Not because I wanted a legal fight. I saved it for the moment Emily cried, and guilt tempted me to surrender. The first property showing was scheduled for the Saturday they returned. They knew the date. Marissa had sent several reminders. Nathan called it a bluff. Emily wrote that she would never allow strangers into her home. I considered postponing the showing. Then I remembered the 4-hour notice they gave me before the airport. I was finished reorganizing reality to protect them from discomfort. Saturday morning was bright and unusually warm. Marissa placed the white for sale sign in the front yard at 9:30. The showing began at 11. Several people arrived. A nurse with 2 teenage sons, an older couple hoping to live closer to their grandchildren, a young husband and wife expecting their first child. I parked across the street with Sam. "You don't have to go over there when they arrive," he said. "Yes, I do." "Why?" "Because I spent years disappearing whenever Emily became upset." At 11:42, a black SUV turned onto the street. Nathan was driving. The vehicle slowed. Through the windshield, I watched Emily notice the cars. Then the sign. Nathan braked and pulled sharply into the driveway. He climbed out before turning off the engine. "What the hell is this?" Everyone near the porch turned. Marissa remained calm. "Good morning. You must be Nathan." "Why are people inside my house?" "The property is being shown." "No, it isn't." Emily stepped out of the passenger side. She wore black travel clothes. Her hair was pulled into a loose knot, and a flower lei hung from one hand. Then she saw me crossing the street. "Dad," Nathan moved toward me. "You listed our house while we were out of the country." "My house? You know what I mean." "For the first time I do." Marissa stepped between Nathan and the front door. "Your belongings have not been disturbed. Get everyone out. You received notice of the showing. I told you we didn't consent. You don't own the property." Nathan looked at me. "You think a name on a document makes it yours?" "No. Paying for it makes it mine." Emily stared at the sign. "How could you do this over one vacation?" "This isn't about one vacation. That's exactly what it is." The vacation showed me what 3 years of excuses were hiding. Her eyes filled. "We wanted 1 week without pressure. With Nathan's parents. That was different. Because they believed you bought this house." She went still. Nathan stepped between us. "Do not bring my parents into this. You brought them into it when you removed me to protect your lie." A silver rental car stopped behind their SUV. Gary and Linda climbed out. They had taken a separate ride from the airport. Gary saw the sign. Then he looked at Nathan. "What's going on?" Nathan pointed at me. "Rick is trying to steal our home." Gary frowned. "Steal it. He's selling it out from under us." Gary turned toward me. "Is the house yours?" "Yes." Nathan glared at him. "Whose side are you on?" I asked a question. "It was supposed to become ours." Gary looked at the house. "You told me you bought it." Nathan's mouth tightened. "We basically did." "No," Linda said. "You said you saved the down payment." "This is not the place." Gary stepped closer. "Then why did you tell me you bought it?" The street became quiet. Even the buyers near the porch stopped pretending not to listen. Nathan looked at his father. "You always judged me. I believed you. That isn't the same. I told people my son worked hard and built a stable life." Nathan looked away. Gary continued. "I wasn't proud of the building. I was proud of the man I believed had earned it." The words landed harder than shouting. Emily looked from Gary to Nathan. "You told them you paid the down payment. You knew what they believed. I knew you said we were doing well. I didn't know you invented an amount. It doesn't matter. It mattered enough for you to tell me Dad couldn't come to Hawaii." Nathan lowered his voice. "Emily, not here." Linda stepped forward. "You also told us Rick stayed home because Hawaii reminded him too much of Susan." Emily's face changed. "I never said that." Nathan did. Everyone turned toward him. He looked trapped, but not ashamed. "We needed an explanation." "You used my wife's death as an excuse," I asked. Nathan's jaw tightened. "You would have made the trip about her. It was planned for her." "That's exactly the problem. Everything with you has to carry emotional weight." I thought about Susan's video, her paper birthday crown, the sound of Emily laughing behind the camera. I did not raise my voice. My daughter asked me to take the trip in her mother's memory. Emily lowered her eyes. Nathan said, "And then we would have spent 7 days managing your grief." Gary stared at his son. "You excluded a widower from a trip honoring his dead wife because his grief was inconvenient. It was supposed to be relaxing." Linda shook her head. "I don't recognize you." Nathan's face hardened. "You two have made me feel like a failure my whole life." "No," Gary replied. "You decided being ordinary was worse than being dishonest." Emily wiped her eyes. "Dad, call off the sale. Number. We can start paying. You had 3 years. We weren't ready. You were ready for Maui. That's cruel." "No. Cruel was leaving me beside a packed suitcase and charging champagne to my card." Linda turned toward Emily. "You used his card after telling him not to come." Emily said nothing. Nathan stepped closer. "This is family business. You told me I was not family." That was Emily's message. She turned sharply. "You told me to send it. I didn't force you." The words came too quickly. Emily stared at him. "You said you would cancel the entire trip if I didn't, because I knew he would create a scene. You wrote the caption. You posted it." Their unity began to crack. Each tried to hand responsibility to the other. Emily's voice shook. "You said your parents could never learn about the house. And you agreed, because you said Gary would never respect you again. He never respected me." Gary's expression hardened. "I respected every honest thing you did." Nathan laughed bitterly. "Name one." Gary remained silent for a moment. Then he said, "I can't anymore. You've made me question all of them." A young couple emerged from the house. The woman was visibly pregnant. She spoke softly to Marissa. "We love the little bedroom. It would be a perfect nursery." Emily looked toward the front window. Her anger collapsed into panic. "Where are we supposed to live? You have 30 days. That isn't enough. It's more notice than you gave me." She covered her mouth and began crying. Every instinct in me told me to stop everything. Take down the sign. Send the buyers away. Hold my daughter and promise I would solve it. Then Nathan said, "Emily, make him stop." She lowered her hands. "What?" "He always gives in when you cry. Talk to him." The street became completely still. Nathan seemed to realize too late what he had admitted. Emily stared at him. "You planned this around me manipulating my father. I'm telling you how to solve the problem." "No. You're telling me what you think I am. Don't become dramatic now." Gary closed his eyes. Linda looked sick. I studied Nathan's face. For years he had mistaken my love for weakness. Worse, he had built plans around it. You thought she could cry and I would keep paying, I said. Nathan pointed toward the house. You promised to help us. I did help. You can't take it back because your feelings were hurt. I'm not taking back a gift. I'm ending an arrangement you abandoned. We live here for 30 more days. We'll fight this. We'll tell everyone you're acting emotionally. Emily looked at him. You really planned to say Dad was confused. We needed options. You said that was only to scare him. Nathan did not answer. Gary did. It was never about helping Rick. It was about getting access to what came next. Nathan rounded on him. You know nothing about our finances. I know you used your father-in-law's card in Hawaii. You have no right to judge me. I'm your father, and apparently that matters only when it's convenient for you. The irony hung in the air. Gary stepped closer. I didn't remove you from my family when you failed. I believed your lies because I wanted to be proud of you. Nathan looked away. Gary's voice dropped. I would have been prouder of an honest renter than a fake homeowner. No one spoke. Marissa approached me. Rick, would you like me to end the showing? I looked at the house, then at Emily. We can speak tomorrow when everyone is calmer. You're letting strangers walk through our life. You spent years treating my life like storage for your emergencies. Dad, please. Her voice sounded younger. For a moment, I saw the little girl who waited at the window for me to come home from service calls. I loved her. That had not changed. But love was no longer going to make every decision for me. The showing continues, I told Marissa. Emily's face crumpled. I turned toward her. Your belongings are safe. You have 30 days. I'll send you apartment listings you can afford, but I will not pay the rent. You expect us to sleep here while people make offers. You slept in Maui after deciding I didn't belong in my own family. I walked back toward the street. Nathan called after me. This is not over, old man. I stopped. Sam moved beside me, but I raised one hand. I did not need anyone to defend me. I looked back at Nathan. The money is over. The lies are exposed. The version of me you could insult and still invoice is over. Then I crossed the street. My knees began shaking before I reached the truck. Sam climbed into the passenger seat. For several seconds, I could not start the engine. You didn't enjoy that, he said. Number, that matters. Why? Cruel people enjoy power. You looked like a man burying something. I watched Emily standing beneath the for sale sign. Linda had placed an arm around her. Gary stood apart from Nathan. I think I buried the father I kept trying to be, I said. The one who fixed everything. Yes, maybe he needed to go. I started the truck. The following weeks were ugly. Emily continued posting vague messages about toxic parents. Nathan told friends I had promised them the house as a wedding gift. Relatives called and the said family should forgive family. My brother told me the sale was too extreme. They're family, he said. So am I. You know what I mean. No. That's the problem. People say family when they want the injured person to remain quiet. Emily and Nathan began looking for apartments. Nathan rejected anything smaller than Cedar Ridge. Emily wanted to remain near her job. They argued constantly. Marissa received several offers during the first week. I did not accept immediately. A part of me still hoped Emily would call and say what I needed to hear. Not that she wanted the house. Not that I had embarrassed her. That she was sorry I had been alone. Her first private message after the open house read, "You made Nathan's parents look at us like failures." I replied, "You are still describing how the truth looked, not what you did." She did not answer for 4 days. Then she called. Her voice sounded exhausted. "Nathan and I found an apartment. Is it near your work?" "Yes." "Can you afford it?" "Barely." "Barely is still afford." She was quiet. "Do you hate me?" The question hurt. "Number." "Then why does it feel like you do?" "Because most of my love looked like rescue. Now that I've stopped rescuing you, think the love disappeared. Didn't it?" "No, the money did." She began crying. I waited. I did not rush to fill the silence. Finally, she said, "Nathan says this is all my fault because I sent the message. What do you think?" "I think he wanted you gone." "And you?" "I wanted his parents to admire us." "That was your choice." "I know." It was the first time she accepted responsibility without adding an excuse. "I love you," I said. "But love is not the same as trust." How do I get that back? You stop asking for the answer and begin doing the work. They moved out 24 days later. I did not go to Cedar Ridge while they packed. Sam helped with his truck. Nathan barely spoke to him. Emily paid for the gasoline herself. On the final day, she left the key in an envelope on the kitchen counter. Inside was a note. I used to think this key proved I had succeeded. Now I understand it proved you loved me enough to help. I'm sorry I turned your help into something I had to hide. I read it several times. It did not repair us, but it was the first apology that did not demand an immediate reward. The young couple expecting their first child made the best offer. Their names were Lucas and Aaron Parker. Lucas taught middle school science. Aaron worked as a respiratory therapist. During the final walkthrough, Aaron stood inside the small bedroom with one hand resting on her stomach. "We're going to paint clouds on the ceiling," she said. Susan had painted clouds in Emily's nursery. For a moment, the past and future overlapped. I handed Lucas the keys. "I hope you build something honest here." He looked puzzled but smiled. "We will." After the remaining loan and sale expenses were paid, much of the money I had spent supporting Emily and Nathan returned to my retirement account. I did not feel victorious. I felt relieved. The house was no longer a monthly reminder that I financed people who were ashamed of me. Emily and Nathan's marriage lasted 3 more months. The smaller apartment exposed everything the larger house and my money had hidden. Nathan blamed Emily for failing to control me. Emily blamed Nathan for lying to both families. He lost another job. Without my card, they could no longer afford the lifestyle he insisted he deserved. One night he told Emily that if she had handled me correctly, they would still have Cedar Ridge. She told him to leave. They separated soon afterward. When Emily told me we were sitting in a coffee shop, she looked tired. "He says you destroyed our marriage. What do you think?" She stared into her cup. "I think the house kept us from seeing what the marriage was." I waited. I was ashamed, she continued. "Not of you, of myself. But it was easier to make you the embarrassing one. That hurt." "I know. No, Emily." "I don't think you do." "Then tell me." I looked through the window at people walking along the sidewalk. "You used your mother's dream to bring me into the trip. Then you removed me because my grief was inconvenient. I sat beside a packed suitcase while you called other people family. After that, you spent my money while discussing whether I was capable of managing it." A tear fell onto her hand. "I'm sorry. I believe you're sorry now. But being sorry after losing the house is different from being sorry before there is a consequence." She nodded. "What do you want me to do?" "I want you to stop asking me to design your apology." She looked confused. "Do what you believe is right without knowing whether it will earn forgiveness." 2 days later, Emily deleted the Facebook post calling me controlling. She replaced it with another one. "I excluded my father from a family vacation he planned and paid for because I was ashamed that my husband and I were living in a house Dad owned. I allowed people to believe we built a life that he was actually financing. I used his credit card after leaving him home, and I helped make him sound unstable when he stopped paying. He did not sell the house to control me. He sold his property after I stopped respecting both him and the help he gave me. I am responsible for my part." The new post received fewer supportive comments. Some people stayed silent. Others said private matters should remain private. Emily did not delete it. A week later, a check for $50 arrived. The memo line read, "Maui charges payment 1. Another arrived the following month. At that rate, repayment would take a long time. That was not the point. She had begun paying without asking whether it would change my decision. Nathan never apologized. He sent one final message. "You turned everyone against me because you couldn't handle not being the center of attention." I did not respond. I did not want him destroyed. I simply wanted him unable to build his comfort on my surrender. As winter approached, I began rebuilding my own life. Sam and I returned to the lake. I joined a volunteer program that repaired furnaces for elderly homeowners before the coldest months. For years, I had used my skills mainly for Emily's emergencies. It felt good to help people who looked me in the eye and said thank you without acting as though gratitude were humiliation. In March, I adopted a 5-year-old golden retriever named Cooper. His previous owner had moved into a care facility that did not allow large dogs. When the rescue volunteer opened the kennel, Cooper walked directly toward me and pressed his head against my leg. "He doesn't like being left behind," she said. "I understand." Cooper came home with me. He followed me from room to room and greeted every morning as if my presence were the best news he had ever received. The following May, I booked a trip to Maui. 1 ticket, 1 hotel room. Sam and his wife Carol booked the same flight when they heard. "You don't have to come," I told them. "We know," Carol said. "That's why it means something." I packed Susan's camera, the faded postcard, and the blue shirt she loved. The night before the flight, Emily came to my house carrying grocery bags. "I thought we could cook Mom's chili," she said. "Do you need something?" The question escaped before I could soften it. Pain crossed her face. "Number." She lifted the bags. "I bought everything. We cooked together." After dinner, Emily helped wash the dishes. She looked at the postcard beside my passport. "You're really going?" "Yes. I hope it doesn't feel ruined." "So do I." She dried a plate. "I used to think you helping us meant you didn't believe I could take care of myself." "Did I ever say that?" "Number." "Then why did you believe it?" "Because every time you fixed something, I remembered I hadn't. I placed a bowl in the cabinet. I did too much for you." She looked surprised. "You don't have to say that. I'm not saying it to make you feel better. Your mother warned me. I kept removing consequences because I couldn't stand watching you struggle." "Why?" "Because struggling looked like pain, and I thought a father's job was to stop pain." "What do you think now?" "A father should protect a child from danger, not from adulthood." She nodded. Before leaving, she placed another repayment check on the counter. She had also brought a photograph. Susan, Emily, and me at the Grand Canyon. On the back, Emily had written, "I should never have made you feel removable from your own family." I held it for a long time. "Thank you." She waited. Perhaps she hoped I would say everything was forgiven. I was not ready, but I opened my arms. Emily stepped into them. The embrace was brief, careful, real. The following morning, Sam and Carol collected me before sunrise. Cooper stayed with their adult daughter. On our second morning in Maui, we drove to Haleakala before dawn. The road climbed through darkness. At the summit, the air was colder than I expected. Visitors stood wrapped in jackets and blankets. I held Susan's camera in one hand and the old postcard in the other. When the first light appeared, the clouds below us turned silver, then gold. The sun rose slowly above them. For one moment, the world looked exactly like the picture Susan had kept beside our telephone. I opened the old video on her camera. Susan appeared in her paper birthday crown. "One day when your father finally stops working, I'm dragging him somewhere with palm trees." Young Emily laughed behind the camera. "I'll come too." The video ended. I felt grief, but not anger. Then my phone vibrated. A message from Emily appeared. "I know you're probably watching the sunrise. I told Mom's sister the truth about the trip yesterday. I'm going to keep telling the truth even when it makes me look bad. I hope you see everything Mom wanted you to see. I love you, Dad." No reply needed. Attached was a photograph of Cooper asleep across Carol's daughter's couch. I read it twice. Then I typed, "The sunrise is beautiful. We'll have dinner when I get home." I did not write that everything was forgotten. It was not. I did not promise our relationship would return to what it had been. Perhaps the old relationship survived only because I kept hiding every fracture beneath another payment. But I left a door open, not to my bank account, not to my property, not to unlimited chances without responsibility. I left a door open to honesty. When I returned to Colorado, Cooper nearly knocked me over. Emily came for dinner the following Sunday. She brought groceries she paid for herself. Afterward, we sat on the porch while Cooper slept between our chairs. She told me about work. I told her about Haleakala. Neither of us asked the other to fix anything. Before leaving, she stood in the doorway. "Do you think you'll ever trust me again?" "I think trust is returning in small pieces." "Is that enough?" "For tonight." She nodded. "I'll take it." I once believed the worst thing that could happen to a father was losing his place in his daughter's life. I was wrong. The worst thing was losing himself while begging to keep that place. Canceling the card did not make me cruel. Selling the house did not mean I stopped loving Emily. Refusing to finance disrespect did not destroy my family. It gave us the first chance we had to build something honest. Family is not a word people use to unlock your savings while locking you out of the photograph. Legacy is not the house your children expect to inherit. It is the truth they learn from the life you refuse to surrender. So tell me honestly, would you have sold the house, or did I go too far?